deal with airplane peanuts.
This is where we find ourselves with Elon Musk about to buy Twitter.
Yeah, I saw that.
Apparently it's going down.
It happened.
Oh, shit!
What?
Oh, shit!
The press release has been announced.
Elon Musk just bought Twitter. We got a movie star type of a superhero. It's like a movie. Like if you had a movie and there was a guy who was like a hero in the movie who happened to be a billionaire, does wild shit, like makes his own rockets and drills under the city and electric cars and then buys Twitter.
Insane.
Elon Musk agrees to buy Twitter in a $44 billion deal.
You want one of the most successful humans in history, especially in the tech sector, to be on the board of an app.
He's the best Twitter account.
Yeah.
So, of course, you want that guy representing your brand. And he's not as dangerous as like a Trump was, even though Trump's Twitter was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have the same radioactivity. It's controversial, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
That's the guy that should own the majority of Twitter.
Twitter's long been a shithole. It's long been a shithole. And so I hope Elon flushes it.
Look, it'll change everything. And I wonder how quickly it is before Donald Trump's back.
He said he's not coming back. I think I already saw the thing. He said he's not going to come back, even if Elon bought it. I didn't see a reason why, but that's Variety reported
I'll tell you exactly why. Because of his Truth Social social media. Why are we playing around with this Twitter shit? We could be on Truth Social.
Is that big?
That's Donald Trump's social media platform.
Is it big?
The biggest.
Is it?
It's the best. It's the biggest. The biggest of all time. They say that Twitter's not as big. Donald Trump says, I'm not going back to Twitter, even with Elon Musk taking over. Donald, reconsider.
Do you think he'll bring Trump back and let Trump have his...
Well, first of all, Trump publicly said he doesn't want to be back on Twitter. So,
oh yeah, because he has the Truth one now.
Yeah, his own thing he's promoting. It's a
but
business.
like Taylor Marjorie Greene wants to be get her fucking personal account reinstated.
Sure.
You think he'll do that?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
I think everyone should be able to be on there.
Dude, that's where all my heartache is, Twitter. So I never look at it.
It's gross. It's disgusting. My biggest
It'll
beef,
ruin my day.
But don't you think everyone should be allowed to be on Twitter?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like who gets to decide what's good to put out to the world? There's so much bullshit on there. The weird thing to me about kicking Trump off Twitter was even if you fucking hated Trump more than anything in the world, okay?
Yeah.
You hate Trump. Fine. I understand. There's fucking porno on there.
Yeah, but
there's girls spreading their asshole. My little kid can scroll and watch a girl farting cum out of her butthole on Twitter, but you don't want this psycho on there? What's the difference? They're both fucking insane.
Is the girl farting cum starting an insurrection?
She might be.
There's all this big talk about like, what does this mean? And Elon Musk has put out a lot of information saying about a lot of quotes, a lot of like statements, about he wants to be an advocate for free speech. He wants this to be the place where like, you could go on and say anything and do anything for, free speech purposes. And, and like, how do I feel about that? I mean, I kind of felt like the thing was like that already. And then you have these like, Fox News sort of people who were like, Elon Musk is going to be able to control the information. He's going to turn down the algorithm for, certain candidates and all this kind of stuff. And I thought to myself, weren't they sort of doing that anyway? Or they could have been doing that anyway? So the first thing I want to talk about is like, people are making this big deal about this guy owning it, right? But who owns it already? Who owned Twitter? Who was in charge? Who was making choices? Who was the person that made the choice that Trump, for instance, had to be taken off Twitter? Who makes the choices for like their policies about hate speech and who they're taking it off? Like, how come nobody was concerned about who owned Twitter before that?
I hear they're going to put an edit button now, because that was one of the things that he suggested, and he made a poll. Do you think Twitter should have an edit button? And he said yes.
Who edits what?
You, whether you can edit it. Like if you write something and you write 1945, but you meant 1965, like fuck. You have to delete the tweet and start all over again. And he wants he was like, made a poll, should Twitter have an edit button? And the vast majority of people said yes, so let's see if they implement that.
He's trying to get an edit button, and he's trying, he's got some concerns about the draconian policies we're seeing on a lot of these tech sites. Good for him.
Yeah, he wants to open source the algorithm.
What does that mean? Speak English.
The choice of which algorithm to use or not should be open to everyone.
Interesting. So you could go on what, like a hate timeline? You go, I want to go on a hate timeline today.
You could curate whatever you want to see.
You could curate whatever you want. So it's just not only Twitter feeding it, you can feed yourself. You can go, I want to go on a timeline of just celebrities and shootings. I want Kardashians and school shootings today. That's my mood. I want to oscillate between meaningless celebrity gossip and the bodies of dead children. You can pick and choose. You can curate your timeline. I want a little QAnon today. I want a little QAnon today, and I'd like some motivational speaking. I want some Bitcoin and Q. I want a little Q and a little coin on the timeline today. That's what my timeline is. It's just Bitcoin, trans people, and QAnon related activities. That is my entire Twitter timeline. It's Bitcoin, 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 trans.
I like one thing that he's trying to do is he's trying to verify every person.
Yes,
so remove
make
the
sure they're
bots.
humans. Yes,
I think that's great because it's like all these bots are what create these stories and create all this outrage. It's what has fucking Russia and all these other countries trying to interfere with not only our elections but our like just discourse in general. Like you're making it look, you're putting gas on a flame. When it's like if you can track every single Twitter account back to one person, and verify them.
You saw the shit with Amber Heard. I mean, I knew this before Amber Heard, just because
what happened?
People have actually done this to me, but all of the stuff that was going out negative about Johnny Depp, it was like 11% of that shit was like 11% of the pro Amber Heard tweets were bots.
So they were basically
look that up, Taylor.
So they were basically paying for
their campaign
anti Johnny Depp shit.
You can do that on Twitter. You can do that on Twitter and YouTube for sure.
You know, all this social media talk reminded me to let you guys know Joke World has a dope Instagram page. For real, we're featuring a new comedian every day, 60 seconds of material that they send in, trying to get their jokes seen on a bigger platform. So even if half of the people watching this message right now could just go over, click the link in the bio, follow our Instagram, it would really give all these comedians a bigger platform to get their work seen. We're trying to create something really cool in the comedy space, something that hasn't been done before, and it's all in your hands. So please go follow the Instagram. We're saying everyone free stickers when you do. And by the way, subscribe to this channel while you're here, and we'll get back to the video.
Elon Musk, what happened to the tunnel he was building what happened to the tunnels? Has he given up on the tunnels? Remember when I was on Rogan and we were talking about these magical tunnels that Elon Musk, why don't you build a tunnel under Austin to help the traffic, except the tunnel doesn't, you go underground and you never come above ground. The tunnel just leads and it just drops you into some like hole in the ground that you can never come out of. How about that? That'd be a great tunnel. But I guess we've given up on the tunnel, the ambitious tunnel system that was going to get rid of traffic. And there's the Mars expedition. But now he's buying Twitter, which I'm for. I like the idea that he wants free speech back on Twitter. But I think the better idea is to just shut Twitter the fuck down. That's everybody's real take that really thinks about it. The best thing to do would be to stop trying to make meaningful arguments in 140 characters or less. Get the fuck off it and move to One Hyde Park in Knightsbridge. And if you can't do that, kill yourself because there's nothing else to do. Maybe Pollock's Peak in Hong Kong, perhaps, but the language barrier is something. It's not nothing over there. But that is also, I guess, and there's smog.
Ice Cube shows support. He said, free at last. Elon Musk, take off my shadow ban, homie.
Wow.
Yo, did he just quote Martin Luther King?
Wow, son. Ice Cube.
Yo, Ice Cube, what's going on, brother? That shit is great. You know, shadow ban was the original name for NWA.
We found out some things about Twitter, and one of the things they do is shadow ban people. So they make it so that your content, whatever you put out, has less impact. It has less engagement. They limit your ability to express yourself. They ban accounts, and they ban accounts if the account says something that they don't agree with. If the account says something that violates what they believe. Mm-hmm. Also, this ability to shadow ban people has to be exposed.
I'm sitting here now, and people are so concerned about Elon Musk owning Twitter, and I'm like, well, at least now we have accountability. At least now the buck stops with one guy. So, like, if you don't like whatever's happening with Twitter, we know who owns it now. We know, like, hey, he made the choice. He's in charge. And then you can decide, you know what? I don't want to be on Twitter. See, right now, I think it's better that we know everything. Transparency. Because up to this point right now, who makes these policies at Twitter? Like, who's in charge of the day-to-day? We have no idea. At least now there's a face. So, like, if you feel like, hey, this is too left-leaning, it's too right-leaning, it's too, there's too much hate speech, there's too much whatever, at least now we could be like, yo, we can actually tweet at the guy. Hey, man, what the hell is going on with Twitter? I don't like this.
But what about all other platforms?
Well, motherfuckers.
And Twitter not even a top 15 social media app.
It's not about whether it's top 15 or not.
It has impact.
It has impact because it is where the news is. Like, that's where I get my news. And that's where Washington Post posts the news. That's where the Times posts the news. That's where everybody posts the news. So if you look at where news comes out, right, and where things begin to trend, right, and I'm not talking about stupid dance moves. I'm talking about, like, is a war happening? Actual news.
70% of all breaking news is on Twitter.
Exactly. So don't buy the New York Times. Buy the place the New York Times breaks the news, which is on Twitter. No one goes to the New York Times website. They go to Twitter. They see an article. Then they go to the New York Times website. So he's like, fuck it. I'll just own that thing. And I don't even need to control the news that comes out. I'll just be able to say whatever I want. And because I own it, motherfuckers talk about me. We were listening to that Jack Dorsey guy, right? The guy who owned it before.
Yeah.
Why are we listening to him? Why do we care what he says?
Because he's rich and he owns Twitter.
Because he owns Twitter. Well, now this guy
we
owns
gave
Twitter.
a fuck about Tom, and Tom never even spoke. We don't even know if Tom was a real person.
I don't. Shouts
Y'all
to
remember Tom
bro.
from MySpace?
Shouts to Tom.
That's what I'm saying.
What about Siri?
Huh?
Siri. Fuck with her.
What happened with Serial? I used to like that podcast. That shit was great.
Serial was amazing.
Serial was fire.
I think it's interesting that that Elon is trying to buy Twitter. I like it. You know, I like to see, you know, free speech it's not what it used to be. It's not. You know, in a lot of media, it's all owned by the same couple of organizations and types of people. And you're not allowed to say certain things. You know, I know on Twitter they shut down certain political views and political stories. They won't even let them be shared on there. Whereas other ones they will. You know, certain schools of thought and ideas they won't allow. And others they will. And it's a dump. It's a dump. And it's just about power and control. And people are sick of it. It's literally making people sick. You know, you take away somebody's voice and it, for some of it, it's the only thing you have that's yours. You know, and I've been a victim of it, or not I've been a contributor of it myself, and being afraid to even say what I really want to say sometimes. Being afraid to speak up for myself, afraid that I won't be able to, that I'll lose my ability to even have a job or have a space.
It's been a great week for Elon Musk and all the white men celebrating. It is true. I can't deny that. I mean, you go on Twitter and the white people, they have not been this happy since, like, the Rolling Stones said they were touring again. I mean, it's a real, I mean, white guys are really, you know, they are really excited, dude. It's like hockey season. They're very happy because I guess they feel like they've been discriminated against in this new culture where calling someone a white guy is now pejorative in some sense. If someone goes, if they go, of course, I should have known a white guy said it, or I'm watching, what else would you expect from a white guy? All you got to do is replace the word white guy with Jew, and you understand how Jew became a pejorative. It's the same exact way.
What do you think he's doing this for? What is the inspiration behind this?
I mean, I know what people are hoping that it is.
Yeah.
Like,
but what do you think it is?
Yeah, I don't know. I just trust that he's like a savvy business sort of like mover, and that he knows what he's doing and kind of what he wants the outcome to be. But I mean, equity in some major platform in terms of, like, you have all these billionaires that buy up like media companies. So like Bezos buys up Washington Post, like MSNBC, the MS is Microsoft. You know what I mean? Like, it's owned by, all these media companies are owned by billionaires. So I'm assuming he's looking at this as like, oh, this is the new wave of media. So I'm going to try to buy in to the newest, to the new
good
news.
point. That would be really fucking smart.
So, were you going to say something else?
I think he wants
Twitter on the Tesla interface in cars.
Interesting. For what reason?
Right now he has Spotify. There's a few that he doesn't have, and so I'm pretty sure they're blocking him from like including them in there because their interface is like you can't adjust it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like you can't buy apps.
You can't
and put
add
it on.
apps and shit like that. Yeah.
And so what would be the advantage of having Twitter on?
Just makes it more cool.
And it's
like
that much
my
more.
cars come with Twitter.
As you have
Your cars come with
self-driving.
Twitter?
Hopefully
your
you're
car comes
self-driving.
I think.
Now, that's interesting. Him being able to like buy up or at least buy shares of these companies that he wants to incorporate in the Teslas. I think that's kind of fun.
That's interesting.
But to what Mark was saying, I think is quite interesting is that once you become a billionaire, you need a media apparatus to protect your wealth. And it's not even billionaire. Like back in the day, you just need, like Jeff Bezos needs something that's pumping out positive Bezos shit and crushing his
They
enemies.
pretty much all do it. Rupert Murdoch, everyone.
Every single one of them. So the media is really an arm of the powerful. And
Right.
we've seen that in terms of powerful politicians, but we also have to look at it as in terms of like powerful businessmen. And in America, the businessmen and women, you could argue, have just as much influence in the government as the government.
What are we discussing really when we talk about Elon Musk owning Twitter? Some people, it seems, are saying, this is outrageous. One person owning Twitter, that's disgusting. But that's been going on for ages, hasn't it? I mean, doesn't one person own Facebook? I know it's a privatized company and there's shareholders, but Mark Zuckerberg, I'm guessing, has a kind of significant influence over Facebook. So when people talk about billionaires buying Twitter and it being wrong for a billionaire to own Twitter, I think what they're really saying is, I want one of my billionaires to own and run Twitter. A billionaire that's sympathetic to my opinions.
I was having a conversation with a couple friends yesterday about this, and one of them was dealing with comments on another social media platform. And what they were saying was that, you know, what Twitter does by banning people and censoring people is definitely bad. But there are some fucking horrible people that were banned by Twitter that are now ruining these other social media apps. And they were explaining to me like what's happening and how these people comment on these other apps and about how toxic they are and about they have like a whole group of people that have also been banned that find these new social media apps, and that's where they congregate and hang out, and that's their community now. And it's just blah. It's just Chernobyl. It's just toxic.
What are the other apps?
Well, there's a shitload of them. I don't want to name the one
they're
that
like-
this person was talking to me about specifically because I don't want to fuck up. Because I think I believe in these other apps. I believe in all these other alternative platforms, and I think that there's great value in having competitors, whether it's to Twitter or to YouTube or to any of these, Facebook, any of these giant, huge companies that have a massive pipeline to the consciousness of the world.
44 billion.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I see this has people in uproar. People are outraged. They're up in arms. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And the reason I don't give a fuck is because it's a billionaire billionairing.
Yes.
What am I supposed to think about this? They act like this is the end of the world. Like, what am I missing? Am I missing something?
No,
He can help other
they're
people
just
out,
upset because they're going to be upset. That's just what they do, and they need outrage shit so that they can get tweets, etc. I mean, like, of course, fucking Sean King found a way to turn it into white supremacy.
Elon Musk and Elon Musk and Elon Musk. This is a good time if you want to commit a mass murder, or you wanted to take over a country, or if you wanted to get away with grooming or whatever evil you're into. Right now, do it, because the news is completely preoccupied with whether we're returning to a Nazi digital landscape. Joy, what's her name? Joy Reid. What's her name? Joy Reid from MSNBC. Sean King are very concerned that Elon Musk is a white supremacist and Twitter is now in the hands of a white supremacist. I haven't seen this tenuous a connection between Elon Musk buying Twitter since the slap, since Hollywood's 9/11, where white supremacy was blamed for the slap. But hats off. Whenever you can try to tie white supremacy to something, I'm always listening because I believe it's entertaining. And Elon Musk, welcome to the white supremacy crew, my friend, because you may not have been a white supremacist before you bought Twitter, but now that you're seeking to enforce free speech, welcome to White Supremacy Club, my friend. The club is bigger. It's like pronouns in bathrooms. They grow every day.
Journalists are devastated to imagine that a single rich person could even try to walk in and upend their project. Couldn't Musk just leave Twitter in the hands of responsible speech-protecting shareholders like Saudi Prince Al-Walid bin Talal? Right, so if your objections to Musk are moral ones, then how do you feel about Prince Al-Walid bin Talal? I've experienced vocal overt media censorship and criticism and accusations of being a conspiracy theorist. One from a newspaper called The Independent that is also 50% owned by Saudi Arabian shareholders. What I think people really mean when they attack someone is, you don't agree with me, so shut up.
Elon Musk, richest man in the world and our favorite lesbian stepdad, needs to run Twitter and not the Saudi royal family, and here's why. First of all, Elon is the GOAT, which is clearly why the Saudis are trying to fuck him. I mean, do we really want Weekend at Burning Yemen calling the shots at Twitter? This Saudi prince that looks like Wario just sniffed a little girl's bicycle seat rejected Elon's offer to buy Twitter. He said Elon's offer, which was 38% above the stock price, was too little. What? This guy must be dropping acid, and I'm not talking about on women trying to drive. Also, of course Saudi Arabia doesn't want Elon owning it, okay? They're furious at him. Self-driving is a loophole to put women behind the wheel. Wow. We cannot let the Saudis control Twitter, okay? It won't last. They have a history of crashing things after hijacking them.
Oh my God.
Now,
Wow.
we need Elon to buy Twitter, okay? It's something we can all agree with. A rich South African is trying to own something that's not a person. That is progress.
Wow.
Speaking of progress, woke people should want this, okay? We need more African American businesses. Not to mention, we should support marginalized groups, and right now, autistic African Americans are under attack. Obviously, Proud Boys are on board. They'll be able to say the N-word without posing as a black teenager. That's right, Proud Boys. You can type it the way you vote, with a hard R. Listen, Elon's the bot for the job, okay? He's a diamond in the rough, and I'm not talking about what he mined as a child.
Jeez.
I mean, the guy married a woman from another planet and had kids with her. He can do anything. Now, unfortunately, they broke up, so technically she's, I can't
say it. Come on.
I just can't. It's so corny.
I need to hear
It's
this.
so
corny. I love corny.
Do it.
Technically, she's his SpaceX.
Hey.